You know, when we think of China's internet, we usually picture a restricted version of our own. Kind of like the internet we use, but with a bunch of familiar websites just blocked. But that's not really the whole story. It's not just a walled-off garden. It's a completely different digital universe that has evolved on its own terms.
So in this explainer, we're going to look at the Great Firewall from a totally different angle. What if it wasn't just a tool for censorship? What if it actually worked more like a digital greenhouse? Not just blocking competitors from the outside, but actively helping to grow a unique and incredibly powerful digital world on the inside.
Okay, so how do you even begin to build a parallel universe like this? Well, to get it, we have to start at the bottom, with the code and the cables it's all built on. We've got to understand the technical layer of control, because that's what makes everything else possible.
Right, so the key thing to understand about the Great Firewall is that it's less like a simple blacklist and way more like a digital border control system. It's really a protectionist policy. It's designed to stop regular people from getting to foreign sites, which, as you can imagine, creates this huge captive market for domestic companies.
And the way it works is pretty clever, because it's multi-layered. It's not just one wall, it's a whole series of sophisticated traps. It can basically lie to your browser by sending it to the wrong address. That's DNS poisoning. Or it can just block the road entirely by blacklisting a server. And it can even peek inside your data to see if you're trying to sneak past with a VPN.
So, with giants like Google and Facebook totally walled out, what kind of digital life started to grow inside this greenhouse? Well, something pretty unique happened: the rise of the super app.
In this protected space, homegrown giants didn't just survive, they thrived. And none is bigger than WeChat. To give you a sense of just how dominant it is, its mini-programs, which are basically apps that live inside WeChat, have almost 1 billion monthly users. That is way more than the entire population of Europe.
See, WeChat isn't just an app. It's pretty much the operating system for modern life in China. I mean, from texting your friends, to paying your bills, to filing government forms, even coordinating with your coworkers, it's all done in one single place. So leaving WeChat isn't just deleting an app. It's almost like disconnecting from society itself.
And this right here is the critical difference. Because WeChat is so deeply woven into daily life and government services, the line between a private company and public infrastructure gets really, really blurry. It creates this incredibly powerful system where convenience and surveillance are basically two sides of the same coin.
All right, so we've got the technical wall. We've got the app that does everything. But how is the public conversation itself managed inside this ecosystem? Well, the answer is probably not what you think. It's way more subtle than just deleting posts.
For years, most of us pictured China's online censors, the so-called 50-cent army, as people paid to get into online arguments with critics. But some really groundbreaking research from Harvard University found something totally different, and frankly, a much more sophisticated strategy: strategic distraction.
So the main takeaway is this. The goal isn't to win the argument online. The goal is to make sure the argument doesn't even get going in the first place. By flooding social media with a bunch of positive, unrelated stuff during a sensitive moment, they can basically just change the subject on a national scale.
Now, this whole system, the technical wall, the super apps, the social distraction, it all had a completely unexpected side effect. This state-sponsored greenhouse didn't just grow giants. It created a unique and powerful engine for innovation.
Research from Yale actually confirmed this. When the firewall blocks a big foreign app, its domestic rivals see this massive surge in users. I mean, look at this chart. That vertical line is when the block happens, and you can see that in the 2 years that follow, their monthly active users jump by an average of 30%. That's a huge, guaranteed boost from the government.
And that just kicked off a chain reaction of innovation. Just look at these two graphs. On the left, you can see a huge spike in companies building their own code from scratch right after a foreign competitor gets blocked. And on the right, that rising red line shows they also started relying more on code from other Chinese companies. They were literally forced to build a self-reliant, robust tech ecosystem from the ground up.
This whole phenomenon is sometimes called the Galapagos Effect, where isolation breeds really unique traits. And it led to incredible innovation in things like AI algorithms and e-commerce. The result? A massive reversal. For decades, the trend was copying to China. Now, more and more, global companies are copying from China. So when you put it all together, you realize it's not just a firewall. It's a complete 3-layered stack of control. It starts with the technical network, then it locks users into an application ecosystem, and finally, it manages the conversation on a social layer. And each of these parts makes the others even stronger.
But here's the thing, this once isolated ecosystem isn't really separate anymore.
Its innovations and business models are going global, and as features that were born inside this unique greenhouse start showing up in the apps we use every day, it raises some really profound questions about the future of technology, convenience, and control. What does a connected world look like when it's being influenced by a world that was built in isolation?